is a presentation of the Belly Up Sports Media Network.
Welcome to the MorganMan Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Stacy Cole Morgan. Here on the MorganMan Sports Podcast, we talk Atlanta Falcons news, pre-game predictions, and all other news surrounding the Atlanta Falcons.
Touchdown, Atlanta!
Also on the podcast, we talk Call of Duty League, Esports, covering Roster Mania, major predictions, COD champs, player trades, and much more to get you ready for every single CDL weekend.
Scuff goes through, and Scuff snaps, wins the one-on-one in optic with the reverse sweep.
If that sounds good with you, put on your Falcons jersey, grab your gaming headset, and let's get this show started. What is going on, you guys? I'm your host, Stacy Cole Morgan, and you are listening to the MorganMan Sports Podcast here on Spotify, Google Podcasts, GoodPod HQ, or wherever you find your preferred podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, today we are talking about the return of the so infamous Call of Duty League Esports. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, the Call of Duty League is back, and it starts today, Friday, December 6th. And guys, let me tell you, I'm ecstatic. I really am. It's been a long time coming, and we got the Vegas Falcons, who is going to be led by none other than the Hall of Famer himself, Clayster. And guys, I'm super excited about it. The rebranding, new Atlanta FaZe, basically new jerseys, actually, for every team. And guys, I'm super excited. Is FaZe going to be able to capitalize off their Esports World Cup win? Is Optic going to continue their momentum from COD champs? Is Toronto Ultra still going to be as dominant without all their starters? You know, this is going to be the most important season opener, I do believe, in Call of Duty League history. There's storylines that is going to impact a lot of things throughout the rest of the season happening this weekend. Also, ladies and gentlemen, we are talking about the Atlanta Falcons, who are currently sitting 6-6 at a 500, going up against the red-hot Minnesota Vikings in Minnesota. So it is, it's a little bit of a scary stretch right now, ladies and gentlemen, if you are a Falcons fan. But as you all know, here on the MorganMan Sports Podcast, we do stay optimistic for the Atlanta Falcons, despite them going from 6-3 to 6-6, and like it was every other season ago. So let's go ahead and get straight into things, guys, with the Atlanta Falcons, actually, because I do want to save the Call of Duty League stuff for last, because we got a lot of matches to announce, and you know what I'm looking forward to within like my top 5. So for the Atlanta Falcons, they are visiting the Minnesota Vikings this Sunday, December 8th at 1 p.m. Eastern, and it will be broadcasted on Fox if you are in the Atlanta area. For your spread, it did open up as a -1 in favor of the Atlanta Falcons, but it did quickly change to a +5 underdog for the Atlanta Falcons and -5 for the Minnesota Vikings. The public bet is sitting at a 61% in favor of Atlanta to actually lose this game by 5. So that is very interesting. Money line is in favor of Minnesota at 80% with a current -233. Atlanta is a +192 for anybody interested in putting money on Atlanta. For the over and under, it is sitting at a 45.5 right now, ladies and gentlemen, and people are taking the over on this game right here for the Sunday's matchup, which is very interesting because the Falcons, they just went from really a high-scoring offense now to scoring 1 touchdown and just kicking random field goals. I mean, not scoring really much, and defense came alive. That was a good thing, but we need both to click at the same time, ladies and gentlemen. We cannot just sit here and say, all right, we can let one thing good happen for the Atlanta Falcons. No, we need both to happen for the Atlanta Falcons. Go back to the 2016 ways, Raheem Morris, please. For Kirk Cousins, your season leaders right here, He's got 3,052 yards, passing 17 touchdowns, 13 interceptions. 4 of those just came from this past weekend. Rushing, Bijan Robinson got 885 yards, 7 touchdowns, 193 attempts. For receiving, Drake London, 796 yards, 6 touchdowns, 70 receptions. For the team overall stats right here, ladies and gentlemen, I do go over overall team offense and overall team defense for both sides of the ball. So for this matchup, the Falcons offense versus the Vikings defense. So the Falcons offense still is a top 10 offense, in the National Football League, sitting at 8th overall, 3rd in passing, and 14th in running the football. Now, however, the Vikings defense is 13th overall in the National Football League, 29th against the pass, and 1st against the run. So if Zach Robinson is going to do anything magical this Sunday, it has to be in that secondary for the Atlanta Falcons offense to exploit that Vikings defense. Because again, the Falcons are 3rd in passing, while the Vikings defense is 29th against the pass. So our offense coordinator, do your job. Throw the ball to Drake London, Kyle Pitts, Rondell Moore, whoever's open. I don't care. Throw it to an offensive lineman. Because this Vikings defense cannot pat or protect against the pass. They can protect against the run, and that's where Bijan Robinson is definitely going to have to be utilized in the passing game more than the run game. I would use Bijan more in those 3rd and short situations, run it straight up the middle, maybe some outside sweeps, nothing too fancy. But I would keep it a passing game if I'm the Atlanta Falcons this Sunday, because again, 1st against the run, that's atrocious. Now the Falcons defense versus the Vikings offense. So this Falcons defense surprisingly has moved up to 21st overall in the National Football League, 15th against the pass, and 17th against the run. This Vikings offense is 13th overall in the National Football League, with 7th while passing the ball and 17th while running the ball. So we will have definitely an evened out day stopping the run. But our secondary, AJ Terrell, JC Bates, Justin Simmons, all of them, y'all really got to have to step up in this one and really go up against Justin Jefferson, because he's basically the star on that Vikings offense. Outside, of course, Sam Darnold, but I believe the Vikings would be very stupid not to re-sign him this offseason, because Sam Darnold has found him a home in Minnesota. I really hate to say it, JJ McCarthy, because, you got drafted from Michigan to the Vikings, and, your career was supposed to start, but right now Sam Darnold's on a roll. And if he keeps things up, he's going to win a playoff game for this Vikings team. So I'm very proud for this Vikings team, and I'm very proud for Sam Darnold, but they are going up against my Dirty Bird. So I am going to have to pick Atlanta to win this one. We always do this on my podcast. I hate to pick any other team, whatever, and I'm not trying to sit here and say I'm biased, but I am biased. Because, again, this is a Atlanta sports-based podcast. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you to root for the Minnesota Vikings or New Orleans Saints, which, if I ever do say that, please kill me. Okay? Please kill me if I ever say go Saints against the Falcons. So, if I have to predict a score right now is 45.5. People are saying over. I just don't think it's going to go over. I think it's going to go under. And if you really want to see 45.5 divided by 2, that's 22.75. So if anything, the Falcons and Minnesota Vikings, I want to keep saying Rocker, but I'm thinking Call of Duty League Esports. But the Minnesota Vikings and the Atlanta Falcons would seriously have to go for at least 20 points apiece. 20 points apiece, maybe 21 apiece, to really secure under. So if I have to say, the Falcons will win this game 20-19. 2019 is short. It's just so short in scoring. The offense still is struggling. We actually get a Young Waku clutch field goal to win the game. And the Falcons defense still is stepping up big time, and I'm very proud of that. So that's what I'm predicting. 20-19, Atlanta Falcons do win, keep their first place spot in the NFC South. Because guys, let me tell you, if the Bucks do win this Sunday and the Falcons lose, it's automatically over. It is automatically over for the Atlanta Falcons. We might as well just then go ahead and start preparing for next season. Because usually this is about the time where the Atlanta Falcons do get disqualified from the NFL playoffs. So we're still in the hunt. We are still in the hunt. We're still first place in the NFC South. But you got to win this Sunday against the Vikings. And it all starts by the Vikings being exploited in that secondary, being that near about worse against the pass. And that's where Zach Robinson has definitely had to cook up a game plan to get Kyle Pitts and Drake London in the end zone and score some points. All right, guys, so we are switching gears on over to the Call of Duty League side of things. So, guys, the Call of Duty League is finally back. I'm ready to get my esports content in. It is going to be super, super amazing. And we kick things off this Friday, December 6th, today at 3 p.m. with the Los Angeles Guerrillas taking on the Minnesota Rocker. That's the team I was wanting to say earlier with the Vikings. Second matchup on the slate is at 4:30 with Optic Texas taking on Boston Breach. Definitely, that's going to be an Optic win right there. Minnesota it's looking like a win for them. We'll have to wait and see because Guerrillas, they can surprise a lot of teams. And the newly announced Vegas Falcons will go up against the Carolina Royal Ravens in your second to main event this Friday at 6 p.m. Eastern. So Clayster looks like he will be getting some revenge on his old team that cut him at the end of the season. Now for your main event, Friday, December 6th at 7:30 p.m., you got the Atlanta FaZe taking on the Toronto Ultra. So I will have the roster names coming up here very, soon on my podcast. So that way I can, announce who's in the starting lineup every week. And to kick things off on Saturday, December 7th at 3 p.m., you got the Miami Heretics taking on the newly announced Vegas Falcons. 4:30 on Saturday, you got the Minnesota Rocker taking on the Boston Breach. 6 p.m. Saturday, you got the Vancouver Surge, not the Seattle Surge, but the Vancouver because they have moved to Vancouver, Canada. Taking on the Toronto Ultra, so it will be the Battle of Canada right there. And finally, Saturday, December 7th at 7:30 p.m. in the main event, you got the Los Angeles Thieves taking on Cloud9 New York, aka New York Subliners. Now for Sunday, December 8th, you got the Los Angeles Guerrillas taking on the Carolina Royal Ravens at 3 p.m. Eastern. 4:30 p.m. Eastern that Sunday, you got the Miami Heretics taking on Vancouver Surge. Sunday, December 8th at 6 p.m., you got the Cloud9 New York taking on Optic Texas. Definitely, that's a key matchup right there. And finally, in the main event, you got Atlanta FaZe taking on the newly announced Los Angeles Thieves, who's been revamped thanks to Nadeshot this offseason. So it is definitely, and I mean definitely, going to be a last man standing match on this one right here. I believe this is already going to be a 3-2 series win in favor of Atlanta based off how things were going during this offseason and during the, $250,000 cash pool prize a couple months ago. I forget who hosted that, but it was on the Call of Duty League YouTube channel. I guess just trying, testing out features, see, make sure everything is working properly for this season. So that is your main event for Sunday right there, guys. So Atlanta FaZe does get 2 matches in this weekend, and both of them are going to be against high quality opponents. So for my top 5, honestly, guys, coming at number 1 is definitely Atlanta FaZe versus the Los Angeles Thieves. I just don't see this being a lackluster match. I think this is going to be, again, like I said, a last man standing match with FaZe getting the nod over the Thieves. Because FaZe, when it comes to a Treyarch game, you cannot count them out. Because, again, the Tiny Terrors have won 2 COD World Champs in a Treyarch game. Now, I know history is, it's history for a reason. It's already done happen. But if history does prove right, this could be the year, again, for Atlanta FaZe to win it all and go to the Esports World Cup and win it all there. Coming at number 2 in my top 5, ladies and gentlemen, is the Cloud9 New York taking on Optic Texas. Then, again, this was a rivalry last season during, Modern Warfare 3. These two teams battled the hell out of each other, and Cloud9 New York got eliminated by Optic Texas, and they're seeking revenge already. So, it's going to be on. Coming at number 3 is Atlanta FaZe taking on Toronto Ultra. Toronto Ultra definitely has a history with Atlanta FaZe here, and this is going to be, I wouldn't say like a last man standing match like it is going to be for FaZe and Thieves, but it's definitely going to be a gruesome series in favor of Atlanta, I do believe, in a 3-1. And coming at number 4 is the Vegas Falcons taking on the Carolina Royal Ravens. And the only reason I put this at number 4 and not at number 5 is because Vegas Falcons, they're fresh. They're brand new. They got very brand new players. And they got a well-experienced head coach who is a 3-time world champion in his own right. And that's Clayster going up against his former team who just really didn't care to let him go. And they just did. And like, all right, see you later, pal, whatever. No, you don't do that. You treat them right, okay? And Clayster is looking at this like, all right, MFers, this is my opportunity to kick y'all's ass. So I have the Vegas Falcons going up 3-0 against the Ravens. And finally, coming at number 5, it's going to be interesting to see this one, but it's the Miami Heretics taking on the Vancouver Surge. I like this series right here because Miami Heretics definitely pulled a rabbit out of their hat last season. They started off strong, and then throughout the majors, mid-break, everything, they sucked. But then right when it came time to clutch up in that major 4, boom, they clutched up. And they won, and they made, top 6 in COD champs and actually made it through some winners brackets. And I was like, okay, the Miami Heretics is a legit team. Can they keep this momentum going against the Vancouver Surge? That is going to be a story that would have to unfold throughout the season, but I'm interested to see how the Miami Heretics start this weekend off. So guys, that is the full schedule for opening weekend of your Toronto Ultra Major 1 qualifiers starting this December 6th at 3 p.m. Eastern all the way through December 8th. I hope you're excited just like I am, ladies and gentlemen. It's finally time to get some Call of Duty Esports back into our system. And we got it all the way until, June, right in there. So it's definitely going to be a good time for some Call of Duty League action. And, of course, the Esports World Cup will be shortly after that right there. So, hell, we get it extended, pretty much an extended month after COD Champs. So, I'm excited for it, you guys. And I hope you are as well. But if you are enjoying this podcast, guys, make sure to like button here if you are on YouTube. I do apologize for last week. Headliner was messing up. So, hopefully, this podcast does end up on YouTube. But if not, definitely thank you all for subscribing and downloading this podcast on your preferred streaming platform on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you find your preferred podcast. But guys, until then, I'm Cole Morgan. I'll catch you all later. Peace.
Thank you for listening to this Belly Up Sports Podcast Network product. Some said we go belly up, so we made it our name, and we're still here.